Yeah, that's what we were out there. Yeah, last year. Yeah. Yeah, that was actually the second portion. And early on, there was, of course, the original process.
Oh, the originals. Hi, I'm Bob Kraus. I'm president of the Veterans National Recovery Center, and I'm here at Camp Dodge, Iowa, with Bruce Beeston, who is our lobbyist for the VNRC. And I hope right before this you had a chance to take a peek at the beautiful military equipment display that we have here on Camp Dodge at the Gold Star Museum. If you're ever out here to Camp Dodge, you need to take a little bit of time to look at the very interesting displays they have. But we're not here to talk about the museum. We're here to talk about what happened to Iowa veterans in the 2021 General Assembly. And Bruce, would you care to just say a few words about an overview of all this?
Yeah, over the past 11 years, the veterans community, including VNRC, has gone to the legislature with a different set of initiatives. Sometimes we get things considered, sometimes we don't. This past year, we got absolutely nothing considered. And we had a good, simple, relatively inexpensive group of initiatives for consideration by the legislature. Bob's going to go down kind of a list that we've prepared, and we'll talk about each one individually.
Okay, well, the first one I'd like to talk about is one that at the beginning of the session we were quite optimistic that something would happen, and that would be to raise the military property tax exemption from $1,852 up to $3,700, which is about doubling.
Mm-hmm.
And what happened to that bill, and how long has it been at the 1,800 number?
The 1,800 number actually passed in 2019.
Okay.
And went into effect beginning with the tax year 2020 taxes. We were hoping for an increase at that time to 3,700, and that's what we did at VNRC as part of our initiatives, as one of the things we wanted to see happen. Ways and Means looked at it; they were sympathetic to us. However, there was, the COVID problems with tax collections, business taxes, and a number of, gas taxes and so forth, all were down significantly. And so when we got to the Revenue Estimating Committee numbers, we knew it and quite a number of other issues for a lot of different organizations were not going to pass. We've been promised it's going to be before Ways and Means this coming session. The new chair of that committee is a gentleman I've worked with over a number of issues over the years, so I think we've got a good chance of consideration.
So that is was a budget issue more than anything else.
Yeah, budget and income tax issue.
Yeah. Now the next one on the list that didn't get attention either was to provide that a veteran's designation could be put on the Iowa driver's license, which is convenient to veterans for many reasons. If you get if you're in a store where you get a military discount or something like that, it's a very handy thing. What happened to that?
Actually, the designation is there. It's been there for about 3 years now. However, the system for getting it added to your license and getting the form filled out was changed. It was part of some horse trading that was done a couple of years ago. I won't mention the senator's name who got that done because he's an old friend of mine. The idea before was to get the form signed and then actually have a visit with a county Veterans Affairs officer to see if whoever the veteran was being making the request to get him introduced to, the benefits that were available, the things that could happen for him, whether it's the veterans benefit on your property taxes, or, getting them up to a point where they could put in a claim on injuries from their service. That's what it was taken out. This particular senator thought that was too inconvenient and it was a problem for him, so he got it traded away. Right now, it's just, you take in the form, you hand it to the license examiner, and he stamps it on your license, and that's all it takes. There's no real, ceremony to it. It's actually, it's less complicated than, getting the gold star on your license now for, to get into federal buildings and so forth.
Okay, so, but it just kind of fell through the cracks.
Yeah, I think it was one of the things that was, deemed not important enough to deal with last session.
Yeah, I can understand that. Now, the big one, though, is, and we've pushed it for several years at the VNRC, and that is to have a veterans court system.
Yeah.
They have one pilot in Sioux City, Iowa, that's been very, very successful. And many people have talked it up around the state, and for some reason we can't crack that nut. What happened this year?
We're not quite sure what it is. There are some people that seem to think that would be, a burdensome expense to do this, and actually the cost of doing it is very minimal. Plus the return on the investment is quite large. Once they put a vet through an alternative court system, keep them out of the prison system, that saves the state approximately $53,000 every year. And, the cost of doing this court system is, like I said, is minimal. It doesn't require any extra personnel. It does require a little bit of training for the judges and the bailiffs and so forth. But the results from it have been quite good up in Sioux City. Judge Paulson quite literally has invented the Veterans Court for Iowa, and he's doing a spectacular job up there. I recommend that any vets who would like to see how it works, just call his clerk and you can actually go in and observe.
And the reason, of course, for the Veterans Court is especially for people with post-traumatic stress disorder, military sexual trauma, or traumatic brain injury. Injuries that will change behaviors, and that the injury that creates this is not often recognized in the regular court system, and it creates an overload of veterans in the prison system. Is that approximately what's going on?
That's accurate, Bob. The other thing too that goes along with that is the Veterans Court is also being used as a drug court for our community, because they're able to actually refer these defendants over to VA drug treatment systems, which don't cost us anything, don't cost the vet anything, and is actually quite effective. And so that's one of the big success areas that they've had up there at Sioux City.
And yet we wait year after year after year, and the legislature doesn't think it's important enough to act on it.
There is good news.
Good news.
There is good news.
Okay.
There is a gentleman who's been hired in the judicial department, the judicial branch, to actually organize how the specialty courts would run. Dr. Eric Howard is his name, and he is actually organizing what the different specialty courts will be. The idea is that the Veterans Court is going to be part of a total specialty court package. It's going to include a drug court. It's going to include a family court also. And they're even looking at some other interesting possibilities there, possibly a little civil court idea too. I know Eric's working hard on it, and my contact at the judiciary branch is back there now, so I'm able to coordinate with that department better to see where this is going. I'm predicting at least the study bill to come up in the next session. I think it'll come up early in the next session.
Well, let's hope that happens. The next thing is on the disabled veterans property tax exemption, and we'll handle the a couple items there. There was a bill to protect personal information, so nobody's getting down into what is essentially HIPAA type information on confidentiality. And then the other item was when does the property tax exemption kick in? 100% or 70%, and what's the logic?
Yeah, and actually it does kick in at 70% if you're IU,
IU.
individual unemployability.
Okay.
The bill started out as Senate File 12 and actually had a lot of support there. By the time it was passed actually as a Senate file, 574, and it came out with some amendments to it, some strengthening to it. They fixed some language in the current law, the current code, and it was signed by the governor about 4 weeks ago.
Okay. Well, so that's
yeah.
good. There's
That's
good news.
good
on
news
some
there.
of it.
Yes.
Yeah. And on the confidentiality, did
that remains confidential.
Okay.
And they actually have strengthened that confidentiality.
Okay, so that was a win this
Yeah,
session.
that was
Okay.
one of the few wins we had this
Yeah.
session.
The next one would be is this public disclosure of personal information of nonprofit members.
Yeah, this was not something that showed up on our original radar, and it's still in committee because there's an awful lot of different organizations, different nonprofit organizations that are doing different things from what we do, that are supporting this. And I think it was one of these things that just it didn't get past the subcommittee level. I don't think it even got out of subcommittee, and so. It's something that just still remains under the unfinished business calendar. So I think we might see some action on that of some kind this coming up session.
Okay, the next one, Senate File 321, and that related to the Iowa Veterans Trust Fund, which is funded by some lottery proceeds. And it structured some ways to invest the fund and also to protect the fund from outside influences.
Yeah, and there are unfortunately too many House members and Senate members that seem to think that the $42 million that sits in that fund, I think it's 42 now, is basically there for them to go after to fund pet projects with. So far, we've been able to keep it from happening because there is some notation within the Iowa Code on that subject. But it's how do I put this? It's something that we need to strengthen, and we also need to strengthen and improve the returns on the investment of those funds. The reason being is demand for the funds is increasing. They have actually increased the amount that can be given out in a grant now. That went up just this past year. And the amounts of some of the grants are going up now. As I've been told by the members of the Iowa Commission of Veterans Affairs who actually award the grants, that they're starting to see an increasing number of requests, and the requests are growing in amount. A lot of things for car repairs, a lot of things for dental work, which isn't covered by VA. They're for home repairs, that sort of thing. And so, yeah, the cost of those sorts of things are going up, and we're having to move with the time, so to speak.
Yeah, I actually had a person just the other day complain to me about the first-time homeowners grant of $5,000.
Yeah.
And they applied because it was advertised, and I think they were mostly lined up, but it was well before, it was probably March, well before the end of the fiscal year, and the fund was dry.
Yep.
They could not get any money.
Yeah, actually, they did increase the funding for that.
They did fund
Yeah,
it.
I don't know
Okay.
how much, I can't remember how much, but they did increase the funding for that. They know that is, going to become a higher demand program.
Yeah, if you want veterans to come back to Iowa, that's a good way to bring them back.
Good way to bring them back.
Yeah. Now, another one that is really near and dear to my heart that I'm really concerned about is the county veteran service officers. And there's been a lot of work to upgrade those positions over the years. It used to be not every county had them. It used to be they were kind of volunteer. Then it was a few $1,000s a year that they get. And then they got serious, made a requirement that every county have them, and they established a floor salary, and the state participated in funding. Well, all of a sudden, the legislature knocked out the training and continuing education for those county veteran service officers. And that's really dangerous because there is a turnover on those things, and you get a new person. It's a very complicated field.
Yes, and basically they went to the legislature asking for, what was it, $1,300,000. They didn't get it. They really need it now because the number of experienced service officers is becoming almost dangerously low. There's an awful lot of them that have retired or just plain resigned. And they're getting new people in, however, they have to get them trained, and they're getting them their basic initial training. And now it's becoming the responsibility of the County Veterans Associations, County Veterans Affairs Associations, to conduct a lot of the training. I know the gentleman that's president of that group he's been a busy guy. He's a good trainer. He's very very passionate about what he does. But there's only so much you can do. We did manage to, the $10,000 a year was dropped down when we had the problem with they had to do some sequestration on everybody's funding 2 years ago. Anyway, last year I did manage to get that brought back. It was a little bit of putting pressure on the Speaker of the House and a little pressure by another one of my colleagues, and we got it done. And actually, I caught the Speaker, and I caught her at a legislative event. And I just walked up to her and I said, "Okay, Linda, what the heck's the deal? What's going on?" And I told her what it was. She said, "Oh, why was that cut?" She says, "We'll fix it." So she fixed it.
Well, it was nice.
Oh yeah.
You had that relationship there.
Yeah.
One I skipped was one we talked about a little bit before, and that was the lowering of the disability rating with property tax eligibility to 70%. And you talked about the individual unemployability. And I guess I have a question about that. Is that is that because of the physical disability or the
well, it's anything basically that's rated 70% IU by VA. They go under the VA rating system for all of that. So however you are rated.
A lot of PTSD and MST veterans, although they often get disabilities, quite often they're at the 50, 60, 70%.
Yeah.
So these people would probably be missed.
They would be
even
missed
at
until they
70%.
get to 100%.
Yeah.
And they actually the idea, and this was to amend Chapter 425.15 of the Iowa Code. The idea behind that was to include that in there, and it's not there yet. It did not, pass out of the Veterans Affairs Committee for floor debate. I think and this was, this happened over in the House, and that's kind of unusual when that doesn't happen. So I think this is going to require some work by all of us in the veterans community up there to get that one brought out, because we're all pushing it. Yeah, we're all pushing it.
It's frankly, with MST, there's a bias against women on that, and there's a bias against vets generally with post-traumatic stress disorder.
DAV's dealing with a lot more. A lot more vets with the PTSD issues. So, and sometimes combination with other things too.
Yeah.
So they're well behind us on that. VFW is behind us on that. VBA, of course, is behind us on that.
Yeah.
And actually, I got that put into the VBA initiatives.
Yeah. Okay, another item, the 24-hour hold by a hospital if somebody walks in the door and says, I've got suicide ideations. In other words, they say, I'm going to commit suicide. And there are other states that have worked with a 24-hour hold. Basically, the person that walks in is voluntarily held for 24 hours so that you can contact their family, their physicians, their psychiatrists, the VA, and get them in a rescue track. And it's been sitting around for years. What's going on? How come we can't get that?
Part of the problem is the insurance companies. They don't want to pay for it. And which is funny, they pay for it in other states, but they don't want to pay for it here. So, it's something that will be coming back again. And somebody actually tried to get it dropped to 23 hours to see if they could get that to pass. Actually, a legislator did that. And it's one of these things that have been held up. The Hospital Association actually has been behind us on that idea. The mental health advocates have been behind us on that idea. But it's, the insurance companies are refusing to pay for it. The hospitals want to care for people. The money is, they know it comes from the insurance company. And so, they want to be able to provide this care. It's just we're not getting the help.
Yeah, that's a very, very sad commentary on whatever individual hospitals value the bottom line more than they do the life of a veteran. It's very, very sad, especially when the Iowa Hospital Association has brought off on it and says this will work and we can get reimbursed by the VA to do it.
Yes.
And they still say no.
Well,
it's unrealistic.
Yeah. And the big problem is if they, if they're not under VA care, it has to come under their insurance company. And I think there's an issue with number one, if the vet is not insured, it has to come out of Medicaid, or it has, if they come in, as Obamacare patients, and what they cover in mental health is not good.
Yeah. So basically, it's still how much is the life of a veteran worth in dollars? Yeah. That's so sad. The last one I want to talk about, and this one was. There was some controversy on it, and that was all of a sudden a brand new commandant at the Iowa Veterans Home literally went up in smoke. Where did he go? What happened? Can you tell me?
Yeah, I can tell you a little bit. There was actually a bill introduced, SF 511, to actually limit his term to 1 year less than he was actually hired for. He was hired for a 4-year term, and they wanted to cut his term off actually this coming week on July 1st. That bill, through mostly my efforts with the Senate President, did get killed. The sponsor of the bill, the senator who introduced the bill, was very unhappy about that. As a matter of fact, he didn't speak to me the rest of the session. The bill did not specify, any particular problems with Mr. Ujiri's work at the vets home. The veterans community, and actually the residents at the community, 99.9% of them liked him a lot. This guy was, the proverbial unicorn. Actually, the perfect employee with the perfect experience. He was a lieutenant colonel, retired Army lieutenant colonel. He has his, master's degree in nursing home administration. He's perfect. And we have no idea what it was. There is some discussion in our community. It was over a bill that I also got killed regarding smoking, and how he treated a report that was filed. It's called an imminent jeopardy report, and it's a form they filed during the inspections. Iowa Department of Inspections and Appeals does those for the nursing home administrators, and once this is filed, you're on the verge of being closed if you don't immediately fix the problem. And Mr. Ujiri was able to do that, and but it involved basically prohibiting smoking by any of the residents and for that matter, any of the employees on the grounds. The, they complained to the representative of, and the senator of that particular, that district, and they got a bill introduced, and it was SF 257, and the bill also was killed, and we thought everything was done, and you know, that things would move along, move forward. However, on May the 5th, 2 days before the Vietnam Veterans Commemoration Day at the Iowa Memorial, we learned that he had been called in by the governor and summarily discharged. We have no idea why. We can't find out why. My back channel sources, and I have many of them, I cannot find out anything. I mean, this has been kept extremely quiet. I know it's one of these, you know, HIPAA-related personnel issues, but this is something that we're thinking will come out. I know, talking to one senator, he thinks it will come out probably before the end of the year.
So this is a situation where the new administrator, he had not been there very long.
3 years.
3 years. And he implemented a no smoking policy, because if he didn't, the federal government would shut down the Iowa Veterans Home and put about 450 veterans onto the street or into alternate facilities.
Yeah, and 500 employees would be on the
500
street.
employees. So
Yeah.
It was either, hey, you guys, you can't smoke anymore, or I'm going to have to do bad things to 900 people.
Yeah.
He chose to make those people not smoke. It pissed off a Senator Carlin, I understand, and perhaps a couple of others. And they went to the governor and they got him fired. Is that that is the speculation?
That's the speculation within the community. We don't know if that's actually what happened.
Okay.
But you know, the senator, actually, he's running for Senate, the U.S. Senate, and we don't know if this is something he did to, you know, show how tough he is or what. But whatever it was a really dumb idea.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm just, I'm floored with the pettiness of it.
Oh,
I
yeah.
really am.
And actually, I've heard a lot of rumblings that veterans on both sides of the aisle are basically going to do everything they can to prevent him from even being nominated.
Yeah, well, that's very interesting. Obviously, it doesn't help the next commandant, who is going to be, I would imagine that we'll lose probably 20% or 30% of the top nominees we'd want to have run the Iowa Veterans Home because of an incident just like this.
Yeah, I think that's going to be the case. I don't know. Usually, the state, when they have somebody to hire like this, there's an employment agency. I'm assuming you might know who it might be, but there's an employment agency that deals with people like this, that you know, have these skills and have this experience, and you know, they're, you know, probably out there banging their heads against the wall because the word is out that he got fired.
Yeah, he got fired for
no published reason.
Yeah, and in all likelihood for enforcing a federal regulation that had some pretty nasty teeth.
Yeah, and you know, Iowa Department of Inspections and Appeals. Cut that. Let me say that again. The Iowa Department of Inspections and Appeals, who does these inspections, they have a great deal of authority, and they can make reports of their own. But you know, and they make, you know, published reports. They're publicly, you know, available reports, and about each facility in the state of Iowa. So you know, they are the ones really, really completely in charge. They are the ones who, you know, determine whether or not somebody has a job or not. And I have, you know, I've learned that Mr. Ujiri had a wonderful relationship with the inspection people. But he was out there, he wanted everything to pass. He wanted everything to be right for the vets up there. He's a vet himself.
Yeah, fell on his sword. Yeah. Well, on that bright news,
Yes.
Bruce,
Gee, thanks.
thank you for a wonderful report.
Yes.
You know, that was very comprehensive. I know that there's a lot of stuff out there, and even though the 2021 was not the zenith, it does set the stage for a lot of good things that can possibly happen in 2022.
I have been able to follow the revenue report, the revenue estimating committee reports, and I see the reports that come out from Legislative Service Agency on what things are happening with the economy. It looks really promising. I think they're going to have a lot of money to work with this coming year. I'm really looking forward to the December, revenue estimating conference. I mean, that's one of the most well-attended events at the Capitol next to the State of the State address.
That's really great. Well, thank you once again.
Thanks, Robert.
Bruce has been our lobbyist now for it's probably 5 or 6 years at least.
7.
Isn't it? 7 years. 7 years.
7 years, and I've been up there 11 years. So.
Yes, so we really appreciate the wonderful job you've done for us over the years. And this is a great report. Yeah, what can I say? You keep on top of it, you follow it, you push it, and you change policy through what you do. Thank you very much on behalf of the veterans.
Wait till you get my bill.